This video isn't going to be about cameras and lenses. Instead, it's going to be about other bits and pieces that are in my kit that I use really regularly. Some I've had for quite a while, some that are quite new. Sometimes on YouTube there can be so much focus on the latest camera, and for a working professional, working filmmaker, there's a lot more things that kind of you need day in, day out to be able to get the job done. Making nice images is one part of the puzzle. But at the end of the day, you are offering a service, whether that's a service to your client, a service to a director, if you're working as a freelance DOP, and to provide those services, there's lots of little things that can help you get the job done and make the experience better for everyone. So in no particular order, I'm gonna dive into a few tools that I really like and that I could definitely recommend. First one is gonna be these wireless video transmitters. These units I've been using for a couple of years now are the Hollyland Mars 400S Pros. They're pretty small. They accept both HDMI and SDI. So whatever your camera you're using, you're not gonna have a problem there. Easy to power. You can either use a DTAP cable, or they will also power by a USB-C, which is super handy. One thing I kind of really like about these is I've been using an iPad as a bit of a client or director monitor a fair bit. And if you're doing that, you actually only need to run one of the units. So you can just have this on your camera. It will send a video transmission via Wi-Fi to an iPad. I've found that connects super quickly, has not a bad range, and is just a really easy way to have run and gun, video transmission while you're on the shoot. Or you can have the second one. Scenarios I've used that is I've had it running to a little 5-inch monitor that I've kind of rigged a little setup up so it's like powered off a V-lock, and someone can carry that around. In more studio-based shoots, sometimes I actually just take my monitor from home. I've got a Dell 27-inch Premiere Color monitor, which I use for grading because I can dial that into Rec 709 or P3, and I've just been able to learn how to trust it. So if I have my resolve settings set up right, for me what I use is Rec 709 Gamma 2.4 and have it running at a luminance value that I can just see, I guess, which I've realized is a big thing that can stitch you up a little bit with Macs, for example, because you don't know what the luminance is of the screen. Anyway, that's a whole other topic. Point being, sometimes I just take my computer monitor onto set, have it on my film cart, and have one of these running into that via HDMI. The cool thing about these having HDMI is it doesn't need to be a production monitor as such. If you were limited to SDI, you're also going to be pretty heavily limited to what kind of monitor you can run it into. So having HDMI and SDI is really great. Sometimes I've done lens testing at home where I've had my camera and I've had this running into the TV. So looking on a big screen, for example, trying to pick if I should use a certain Pro Mist filter on a shoot and just how heavy-handed that's going to be. Being able to just see the difference in real time on a big screen, I've found super handy. Or comparing different lenses, how soft is this lens wide open? Is that gonna be too arty for the project? Or, what level of Pro Mist is better? 1/8, 1/4, none. Is it barely making any difference? If I pointed at something bright, what's that doing? Or if it's just like a pretty flat lighting scenario, what's it doing? Yeah, I found that pretty handy. So yeah, look, these are a great investment. I can recommend these Hollyland Mars 400S Pros personally myself because I've used them for a while. When I got them, they were a good price. But you know, I'm sure there's others out there that do a great job as well. So yeah, that's the first little thing that's in my kit that I think is a pretty good investment. Next thing I'm going to talk about is just follow focus units. For the last few years, I've used this Tilter mini unit here. And look, I've been really happy with it. It's a good little design, easy to switch the gears from one side to another, quite lightweight, easy to swivel around to adjust to fit whatever lens you're using it with. Yeah, really nice little cost-effective follow focus. But recently I was on a shoot where my friend that I was working with had this one here. Now this is the wooden camera zip focus unit. And I gotta say, I had one feel of it and I was like, holy shit, that actually works so much better than the Tilter. Now look, that Tilter mini unit was great, but yeah, just when I had a feel of this, it's so much more responsive. You can almost push it just with one finger and subtly adjust the focus. Whereas with that one, with the Tilter, with a smaller wheel, it's a bit more, you're doing bigger movements, I guess. This one just has no, latency is not the right word, but it engages instantly with the gears. And when I felt this, it was just the smoothest kind of unit that I'd got my hands on. And now, you know, I'm sure the Arri is probably really good, but it's also probably super expensive. This has always been the kind of thing that I never want to pay too much money for because, you know, look what it is. It's not an advanced piece of equipment. Like, sure, some nice engineering might go into a good quality version one, and sometimes they can be worth spending money on, but end of the day, it's a pretty straightforward kind of thing. So it's not something I would want to spend a lot of money on. But when I had to go with my friends recently, I was really impressed with this. And, you know, this is just one of those things that if when you're out there pulling focus, it just makes you better at that job. Especially some of the scenarios I get thrown into. Like, I have to be super responsive. I might be shooting really shallow and filming someone walk around in a documentary kind of setting out in the bright sun. Your work's pretty cut out for you. It's not easy doing that stuff. And so a good follow focus unit will really help you out in those scenarios. So I haven't actually started using this yet. I'm going to start with a shoot I've got coming up this week actually. And yeah, really excited to use that one. It just feels really well made. And on the price side of things as well, I just got this on special from B&H, half price. So I think these have come down quite a lot, and you'll probably be able to get your hands on one for a much better price than what they used to be. I know I just got this for around 400 Australian, and I think they used to be 1,000 or more. So come down a bit in price, and yeah, it just feels like a really well-made quality unit that is just more responsive than some of the smaller options out there. The only downside I can see with it is to adjust the angle of it, you actually need Allen keys, whereas on the Tilter unit, it had the simple lever tightening kind of system. So this one, it has that little lever on the unit to tighten it onto the rail, but not to adjust the angle. That's not ideal, but anyway, other than that, it just seems like a really good unit. And I think things like this, that you're just going to be able to go on and use for years, and that will enable you to do your job better, are a good investment. So the next thing I'm going to talk about is wireless headsets for communicating when you're on a shoot. This company, SYNCO, was nice enough to send me these, and yeah, I haven't been able to use them too much so far, but when the time comes, this kind of thing is just such a good tool. If you've never seen these before, this is kind of how they work. So they've given me a pack of 5, so 5 people can have headsets. Basically, one of them will always be marked as kind of headset 1. You'll always start with kind of turning that one on first, and then the rest will follow. Super simple. Basically, once you got it all fired up, as long as the batteries are charged and everything like that, turn this on. Microphone up means it's off. microphone down, it's on. These units here, from my initial testing so far, they have a really good range, nice and clear. And yeah, these are just a type of thing that can really make your shoot day smoother. So if I need to be able to constantly talk to someone else, I would leave this microphone down, or you basically just go off and on. So microphone up right now, no one can hear what I'm talking about. Put it down, they can. And you know, you can get this right up near your mouth. They have little wind guards on there already. Yeah, from the testing I did with these, they sound great. These are really good for the price. Definitely more affordable than some of the alternates I've used, like Hollyland. Yeah, if you're working with an assistant, other camera operators, if you have one of those days where there's just multiple people, something like this will really make your day run smoother, because you can just be in constant communication and you know where everyone is all the time. Yeah, they just add a lot of efficiency. So yeah, I haven't used these too much yet, but I'm excited to use them more. Types of shoots I use this kind of thing on are multicam live music shoots. So multicam capture of bands playing. I do a lot of stuff at the Sydney Opera House and with some kind of major artists. They're great for that kind of scenario. And yeah, also just shoots with more people. So yeah, can definitely recommend these SYNCO branded headsets as being a cost-effective but good quality option. From my testing of them, I had no complaints and they seem to work really well. Next up, I'm gonna talk about my most recent light purchase, which is the Zhiyun Molus B500 bicolor light, which is actually what I'm using right now to light this. I heard about these new Zhiyun lights through a friend. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, by the way. Feel free to correct me if I'm not. But yeah, look, basically, so many companies coming out with COB lights now, all starting from, you know, Aperture and brands like that. I was very close to changing over all my lighting kit to be 100% Aperture until I started seeing some of these. Basically, they're just a lot smaller, and I've been starting to try to, I guess, put together my ideal kit for being able to take lights away with me traveling. And you know, the tricky thing is with Aperture lights like the 600D and things like that, is they have these big ballasts. Most of the weight is in that ballast. These new Zhiyun lights that have come out, so this one is 500 watts, so not far off the 600D. And it's just a cord, single jug slash kettle slash computer style cord that just plugs straight into the light, no ballast, and it's a compact unit. You can see it's kind of just full of fans and heat sinks. This is running on about 5% at the moment. I did an interiors shoot the other day. I was basically able to replicate the flash that the photographer was using on that shoot. So getting like a pretty solid daylight kind of level by having it come through a window directly. And it's a compact, lightweight light that can fit in my bag. So I might even end up getting more of these because it just enables me to, I've been just trying to have a lighting kit that fits in a single Manfrotto roller bag that I've got. Basically what I'm looking to have when I travel now is some light stands, 2 lights, and just a bunch of different like shaping options. Which on that note, what I'm actually testing out at the moment, this is a Godox umbrella with diffusion on one side of it. So basically like a very simple booklight setup, poor man's booklight setup. But yeah, it's nice and compact, and compared to a softbox, this is really easy to pack, super compact. Effectively that umbrella fits into this case here, which is so much smaller than a softbox. And yeah, I'm really happy with it so far. I think the size is unmatched, the size and weight for the output you're getting. Really cost effective too. Like, yeah, I think it cost me not much over $1,000 Oz. So yeah, really cost effective and super happy with that so far. I think the tech is really impressive. Even on some of my older Godox lights, even though they didn't have a big ballast as such, still might be moldable power transmitters, which kind of also add a lot to the weight. You could travel with two of these or one of these, and they also have a 300-watt version, which is quite compact and made of two small boxes. I've heard of people using that and being really happy with it. It's crazy small compared to like a 300D. Yeah, I think this is cool new tech, and I've been pretty happy with that so far. And it just comes back to like, if you're going to get excited about tech, what's the reason you're getting excited? Well, in this case, the reason I like this is because it might enable me to take lighting kits on shoots that I wouldn't have been previously able to take them on. The client might not have wanted to pay for excess luggage. Or I might have had to take smaller lights with less kick. Having a 500-watt light that doesn't weigh a ton is super valuable to me, because you can always, more light is always better. You can bounce it. You're always better having more than wishing you had more. So yeah, definitely aiming for the most powerful lights that you can comfortably carry is a good thing. So yeah, I just think it's an example where it's like, excited about the tech because of the creative opportunities it opens up, which is why you should be excited about tech, not because of a Apple style marketing strategy or red. Which brings me to my next thing, the Manfrotto light stands. They're the 004s, they're commonly called. They come in a 3-pack. They all clip together. I've been using them for years. They're just super handy. They basically live in my van and in this lighting kit that I've just put together. I could have 3 in there, but I'm probably just going to travel with 2. I think 2 lights is enough, and also that's a good compromise with weight. They're not the smallest and they're not the lightest light stands going. You would find smaller and lighter, but these are just really convenient with the moldable lights that clip together kind of design. They will handle a fair bit of weight. You probably shouldn't, but I've definitely chucked on lights like 600Ds and that on them, and they've been fine. This 500 that I just mentioned is on there at the moment, and all good. So yeah, that's just one of those things that I think is something that you're just going to be able to keep for years, and is just a really handy tool to have in your kit. I've had people ask what this is that I'm sitting at in these pieces to camera, and this is my Adicam camera cart, which I bought a couple of years ago directly from Europe. And even with that import, the shipping cost and the import tax, it still worked out cheaper than getting it in Oz at the time. Now look, things like this, they're a bit of a sting when you first buy them. I can't remember the exact price this cost me, but it was about $3,000, which is much cheaper than the competition, but still a big expense for what is effectively just something for you to transport gear around. But look, if you're running a production business and you're constantly taking lights into office buildings or just locations all around, this is really handy. And a good thing to know about these is you don't need to have a massive van to be able to use this. This will fit in the boot of a lot of cars, or in my case, I have a van where I can't roll it in. There isn't enough room. I disassemble it by myself and just lift it in each time. Takes a couple of minutes to unfold. You basically fold up 4 legs, sit this on top, and then there's some little attachments that lock it in. Yeah, I would say a well under 5-minute setup for this. And yeah, look, I've had it for about 3 years now, and I'm gonna just still be using it for years to come. And it is just, it's a game changer. I don't know how I did it in times where we had to kind of grab all our cases and take them up by hand. There are cheaper options available, like more furniture transport style carts. There's one here in Australia called the Rock and Roller, which is pretty popular. There are alternates that you can get from hardware stores. So by all means, if you can't afford something like this, get a cheaper alternative. But I will say, if you're doing production regularly, you're transporting gear and things regularly, this is just something that will also make your day better, as just having like a good base to put all your stuff on. And, you know, with me, with the size of shoots I do, it's kind of like, if I can't fit everything I need on this cart, then that job requires an assistant or a gaffer, or more hands, in other words. You know, I'm only one person. There's only so much gear I can set up and operate by myself. So I almost use this as a bit of a limitation. Like, I can come with a lighting kit and a camera kit that'll fit on here. If not, need more people, spend the money. So yeah, I could, if you can get your hands on a camera cart for a good price, I would strongly recommend it. And this brand here, Adicam, made in Poland, and this one I've got is just the standard cart. Yeah, I'd strongly recommend. And, you know, if you want to rig these out, there's all kinds of attachments and stuff you can get for them. C-stand holders, monitor arms, all things like that. I haven't bothered purely because I pack down and pack this up every time I use it. So I want to keep this as simple as possible. The only addition I've made to this is I have a clip-on cup holder for coffee and water. Very important on shoots. Anyway, I'll leave it at that for now. But if there's any other gear you'd like me to talk about, or you think you've found some better alternatives to anything I've just mentioned, or any other tidbits you'd like to throw my way, chuck it in the comments, and yeah, see you on the next one.